Hi, Binal.
Hey, hello, Karthik.
How are you?
Good.
Very good. Binal, thank you. Thanks a lot for taking time and speaking to me. A quick introduction about myself and what we are trying to do. Well, so I am one of the founders of Ryvive, practice management solution that we are building for wellness professionals who are building their private practice, mainly yoga trainers, mental health practitioners, music therapists like yourselves, alternative healers, gym trainers, fitness trainers, etc., to manage their growth, workflows, etc. Right? And this is a growth series podcast that we are conducting to know more about different modalities like music therapy, right? So before interacting with you, I did not know that something like a music therapy exists, right? So I knew of sound healing, but that was a new learning for me, and that's where we also realized there are a lot of such modalities and a lot of such journeys individuals take, and the work that they are doing and the practice that they are building. We thought this platform can showcase such stories, also help us understand more about the industry, learn and help others who are trying to pursue this as a career, to guide them or to help them understand, what is it that they are signing up for. So that's the goal of the podcast, and absolute pleasure to have you here.
So it's a pleasure, likewise, Karthik. Thank you so much for having me.
If you could also, give a quick introduction about yourself for the viewers, that would be really.
So, my name is Binal Shah. I am founder of Aaroha Music Therapy. I am practicing clinical music therapy for over 3 years now. This is my second career.
Hmm.
I have been an IT security consultant in my past avatar, if I may say so. I'm a freelance practitioner out of Mumbai, and I conduct online and offline music therapy sessions for individuals, groups, communities, corporates, educational institutions, and wellness settings as well.
So getting right into it, right? So how did the transition from being in IT to wellness, and that to a niche vertical like music therapy?
Okay, so I have been thinking about about changing my work domain since a few years. However, when COVID happened, I think a lot of introspection took place. I think it was a journey for all of us,
Hmm.
right? And that prompted me to really look at something that I would love to do and something that would be more meaningful. Simply put, I wanted to earn more than just my salary, I would say. Wanted to make a difference in some way. And music was one of the most obvious choices because I have been a student of classical music for a few years now. I thought it'll be a great area to explore since I loved music. So when I started exploring as to what can I do in this field and make a career out of it, music therapy came out to be one of the most lucrative options because it had both the factors that I was looking for. It had an area that I loved, and it would also allow me to contribute and make a difference through my work.
Hmm.
So that's how it happened. Of course, and what followed was a lot of research for institutes, courses, what could be done, how, when, and yeah, that's how it started.
So, what went into the research piece, right? Because, like I said, it's not a very known niche or a modality, right? So, how did you go about doing the research, finding out? Were you talking to people, or are there any online resources that people can check out to know more about it?
Yeah, so obviously it was the COVID time, so most of the research, or rather all of the research initially happened online. I was looking for institutes. There were a few in Mumbai where I stay, and a couple in the rest of the country and even abroad. I wrote emails to a lot of those trying to find out if I was eligible for a course. In a few institutes, especially abroad, which I had shortlisted, there were restrictions of age
Hmm.
which wasn't on my side exactly at that time. So I had to let go of those courses. And through research, I came to know that there was an institute right in India where I could take up the course and had an opportunity to do a semester of it even online.
Hmm.
So considering the fact that I had a house and a house to manage, I have a child, it was very tempting to look at that option initially. And then also spoke to a few people who've done their courses from those institutes, and that's how I was able to shortlist two or three institutes, post which I applied. There was this whole process of essay writing, interview, even a technical round of submitting my recordings of my musical skill at that time. And then I got shortlisted and got admission into Chennai School of Music Therapy.
So, for someone to pursue this as an option, right? So, do they need basic understanding in music or some kind of qualification, or can they start off, learning at this point?
So ideally, some musical skill and ability should be there. You could be, you could be playing an instrument or singing, or you could be from a medical background because this course is music therapy for medicine, and a whole lot of courses available are also on the same lines. So having some knowledge either on the medical side or on the musical side is a must. And within that, if you are more, more willing to put in the work and learn on the go, then that would add to your credential, of course.
So, slightly off topic, but just curious, right? Want to know, like, how does a music therapist's music playlist look like, right? So, what is the kind of music that you listen to that helps you keep going and balance
Mhm.
everything in your life as well? Because now you're an entrepreneur, right?
Yes, yes. Sure. So I would say I have a very diverse playlist because I'm very aware of what I want to listen depending on how I'm feeling or what I'm doing. My choice of songs differ.
Mm,
There are times when I listen to only lyrical music. There
mm,
are time when I like if I'm trying to relax or just before my sleep times, I prefer non-lyrical music, mostly classical instrumental music like a sitar vadana or a flute. When I'm doing something that needs very active engagement from my side,
mm,
I prefer to sing to myself,
mm.
which of course is not always pleasant for everybody around me, uh, because I'll end up singing quite a lot. But yeah, and apart from that, my personal favorite genre is Hindustani classical and ghazals.
Mm.
So yeah, that is top of my playlist at any given point of time.
So, if you had to like pick a song as a theme song when you like enter a room, right? So, what would that be? Like, what is your
Okay.
favorite go-to uh, song?
Well, difficult to pick one as I love lots of songs are my favorite, lots of singers and musicians are my favorite. But if it had to be one, I would go with Bavraman by Swanand Kirkire.
Yeah, nice.
I just love the lyrics. I love the soothing melody.
Yeah,
It's beautiful.
yeah. Got it. So, again, getting back into our discussion, right? So, uh, like I said, right? So, music therapy as a modality for me when I interacted with you was very new, right? So, for people who are watching, right? So, if you had to explain what music therapy is, how is it different from other modalities like a sound healing, right? So, uh, like, what would be the explanation? What is the science behind it, or like, how do you approach music therapy in general?
Sure. So, you will be very delighted to know that music therapy is an absolute scientifically based, research backed, and evidence based modality, which is implemented in a very structured way.
Mm,
There's a lot of clinical background to a music therapy treatment plan.
mm,
It is customized or individualized because what works for one may not work for another.
mm,
Because music therapy is basically use of music purposefully
mm,
by a trained professional to achieve a certain non-musical goal like working on physical well-being or management of pain or an emotional need of an individual or a need for general well-being or growth or healing.
mm,
So depending on the objective of the client or patient, a music therapy plan is curated accordingly. And then comes the whole clinical assessment of what the individual really needs. It could be physiological or psychological. Then comes the individual's musical, cultural, religious profiling.
mm,
For example, let's say you belong to a certain culture or a religion, and if I'm going to use a devotional song of some different religion,
mm.
would it connect with you or relate to you?
Mm,
Or if you are from a different country,
correct.
and if I sing India's national anthem, will it stir those emotions or invoke those feelings into you? No. Hence, very individualized also. So, a trained music therapy practitioner would take care of all these factors while devising a plan. And then it will be executed also accordingly, looking at the at the state, emotional state, and the need of the individual on the given day as well. So when we create a music therapy plan, we always have a technique in mind. We always have what you want to generally do in the session based on the objective. Having said that, we are also very flexible because it will depend on how the patient or the client is feeling on that particular day. And we would always be able to, at the, in an impromptu manner, come up with something that works for that individual on that particular day. How is it different from the other modalities? I would say that since this is backed by science and research, and it is a tailored execution for individual needs which are pre assessed, uh, what happens is every experience is unique. Second is because when an individual is going through music therapy, vis-a-vis a traditional counseling or talk therapy, music here is used to engage both body and mind through various elements of music like rhythm, melody, or tempo. As a result of this, there is far deeper engagement from the patient's or client side as well, which I would say sets music therapy apart from a traditional modality.
So, what kind of clientele do you work with, right? So, is it more on people who are currently going through something and music, helping them through music, or do you also get clients who are working on preventive methods? Right? So, probably I have stress. I don't want to get to a stage where I have ailments. Maybe I can work with you to help my state of mind or work-life balance. So, how does that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you rightly put it, Karthik, it is used in preventive as well as reactive measures. So, firstly, like you rightly said, it is a great preventive modality because if we know that we are getting into a zone where our stress is increasing, or I'm in a known zone of stress or pain,
Hmm.
if I am able to access a modality like music therapy during that, we can really prevent a lot of lifestyle diseases or ailments
Hmm.
that come. That's exactly where the whole work in the wellness space,
Hmm.
the corporate space comes into picture for a music
Hmm.
therapist. In terms of reactive
Hmm.
therapy, it has been established and I have personally practiced in post neurotrauma care, cardio trauma care. A lot of work that I am doing is in the oncology space. So where patients going through treatments or post treatment,
Hmm.
where there is a lot of physiological symptoms that can also be supported through music therapy, as well as lot of side effects can be managed as well. Apart from that, in the entire space of women healthcare, right from women going through IVF and having anxiety,
Hmm.
they can be supported. I am currently working with women in that space through the entire 44 weeks of pregnancy, so prenatal care, along with the standard traditional gynecological measures that are taken. Modalities like music therapy work great because, like I said, it's structured. It can be worked upon based on the expected growth of the fetus,
Hmm.
so on and so forth.
Hmm.
And in the last stage for women healthcare, women going through peri or menopausal symptoms or having depression or anxiety as a result of that stage of their lives, there is so much work that I'm doing in that space as well. And around a year ago, I have started working with a lot of youngsters, helping them manage academic anxiety or general stress of stepping into the real world and so on and so forth. So I believe music therapy can benefit people across ages, across cultures, across demographies.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of these, use cases that you've touched upon, right? So there is a lot of work that needs to be done, right? Because I think women healthcare and their menopause management, etc., is a big space as well, right? So because my mother is now old, and she is also going through some things. So that's where I see the need for modalities like music therapy, right? Because I think with age, a lot of physical movement gets restricted, right? So then they need to figure out what else can help them, right? So that's, I think, great work.
Absolutely. And Karthik, in this particular area, and also I gave you the example of oncology care, what happens is a lot of time when people are facing, like in menopausal women, like you said, if your mother is going through some aches and pains, what will happen is people will say, ये तो होता है, ये तो सबको होता है. और इफ अ पेशेंट गोइंग थ्रू कीमोथेरेपी, हाँ, nausea तो होता ही है, अच्छा फीवर तो होता ही है, राइट? The challenge what happens is when people accept
Hmm.
that I have to suffer,
Hmm.
or everybody suffers, so
Correct.
I'll also have to go through it.
Correct.
That mindset needs to break.
Hmm.
There are ways and means by which you can manage all of this. I'm not saying we can completely cure the disease or we can take care of or combat all side effects and symptoms. No. But we can definitely provide the support that is required to manage it better with minimal pain and minimum discomfort.
Hmm.
That's definitely doable.
So in this process, I'm sure you must be working with healthcare professionals like doctors, etc., to exchange notes or how to plan the entire music therapy sessions as well, right? So how does that work? So at what point does music therapy as an option get included, right? So for someone who is not going to a doctor, like preventive, right? So there, I think it's straightforward where they can straight away.
Yes.
But someone who is doing reactive approach to solving some problem that they are facing, right? So at what point does music therapy as an option get included, and how does the workflow from there go, right? So in terms of back and forth with the doctors or the healthcare providers.
Sure. So, as far as my experience goes, I have worked with very few clinicians,
Hmm.
but there are doctors who've recommended my services when they've seen that a patient is in a stage where alternative therapies will help.
Hmm.
Having said that, I would have liked much more awareness amongst the medical fraternity about us
Hmm.
and more advocacy from their side as well. Having said that, there is so much happening. So, for example, if I was to give you an example of an oncologist, every patient of theirs is going through so many treatments simultaneously, so much medication, and especially in metro cities, the clinicians are overloaded, right? So they do not have the time and bandwidth to understand something. So because before I had to recommend something, I have to understand,
Hmm.
right? Only then I can see benefits and then I can recommend my patients.
Correct.
So from the medical fraternities side, I would say I would really love them to understand our work more. As far as possible, I try to spread awareness through my workshops, through doctors whom I know, or through doctors of patients with whom I have worked with. So that's one factor. Apart from that, I have worked with a lot of other therapists. Like a physiotherapist has approached me saying, I'm working with a patient with Parkinson's. And then we jointly curate a music therapy plan. Or somebody who's recently gone through a knee replacement surgery or let's say a bypass surgery and is trying to recoup. So how physiotherapy is recommended after oncology surgery or a cardiac surgery or an orthopedic surgery. Similarly, music therapy can come into that mainstream of level 2, level 3
Hmm.
support for recovery.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say we are already there, but my entire effort is in that direction that more and more awareness be spread and we actually get that opportunity to work with those because we've seen benefits. I would say in the last 3 years, I would have worked with a lot of yoga therapists, physiotherapists, Ayurvedic doctors, gynecologists who've recommended patients to
Hmm.
me. So people who understand are definitely appreciating the benefit and are, recommending us.
So, is there like one instance or one client story where you felt the validation, right? Because
Hmm.
it's very difficult, especially when you are working in a small niche, right? Because I'm sure with awareness being less, it gets difficult to convince someone that this will help you, right? So I'm sure when that success story comes across, right? So you feel vindicated, you feel validated, right? So is there some story like that without obviously sharing any sensitive?
Yeah. There are many, Karthik. But if I had to quote one or two, one example that I could give of one of my clients in prenatal care. So throughout her entire pregnancy, I did roughly 38 music therapy sessions with her. We were meeting on a weekly basis in offline mode, and they being Hindu, we were chanting the Gayatri mantra every day at a certain tempo and in a certain rag. Just few months ago they sent me a video of they were blessed with a daughter later and just few months back they sent me a video when their baby was really cranky and when the father started chanting the Gayatri mantra in the same tempo and rag that I used to sing for them, in a few minutes the child was absolutely calm.
Mm.
and just rested on the father's shoulder.
mm,
So I would say इससे better validation नहीं हो सकता.
mm,
That, and of course, see, there's a lot of technical aspect of it. Like when I was singing it for the mother every day in a soothing tone, we were mentally conditioning the baby within the womb to calm down with that, which manifested today in the child responding
mm,
to the Gayatri Mantra this way.
mm,
But I think this is an amazing example of how it can be, seen today. Apart from that, I had a patient who was diagnosed with leukemia and could not undergo the bone marrow transplant and was extremely disappointed and dejected with it and was under my care in the hospital for some time. And I had a specific instruction from the psycho-oncologist that he was seeing, saying that the patient is extremely depressed and that is why he has severe side effects because of after every chemotherapy,
mm,
and you have to do something to help him.
mm,
And initially, when I met him the first time, he was not very interested or thought that, okay, this is one more thing I'm going through. But as and when we started having more sessions, the way he responded was amazing, and his need of taking paracetamol post chemotherapy came down.
mm.
His sleeping pill almost stopped. The dosage went lesser in 2 or 3 weeks and then almost got stopped after his fourth cycle. So, and then we got a note from the oncologist saying that we believe that your therapy has really helped him.
Mm.
So, this is, I think, one example where I think that really helped. And again, a coincidence that this patient around last Diwali sent me a picture of his wedding.
Nice.
He's completely cured despite of not undergoing the bone marrow transplant, and is living a very healthy and happy life today. So yeah, I feel blessed
Yeah.
when when my work does this.
No, I think it's wonderful, right? So, like,
Yes,
I got little goosebumps.
me too, actually.
So, how does a day in your life as a music therapist look like, right? So, how do you go about? When does your day start? What all is involved in it?
So on an ideal day, 1 hour of riyaz for me every morning. It could be different things. It could be my classical training, me practicing the ukulele or the guitar. Post that, depending on how my day is structured, I work on my repertoire for that particular day's sessions. Like if anything specific that a patient is looking at. So like my mother tongue is Gujarati and my primary languages are Hindi, English. But if I was meeting a patient who prefers a different language, then I'm working on learning a particular song in his preferred language
Mm.
or a particular bhajan of a deity that he or she is, a believer of. So I work on my repertoire and then tuning my instruments, packing and going forward on my day. On a day when I'm conducting workshops, or then obviously then my prep is more about the content or what exercises I plan to conduct in the workshops and those. And on most days, at least that's what I try, after I come back, I try to document my sessions in as much detail as I can because I'm a very pen and paper person. So during my sessions, I take notes in my diary instead of typing into my iPad. But after I come back, I have my own system of managing it through my Excel sheets. So I keep a track on what techniques worked, how patient responded to which didn't go really well, so I can work on myself. And yeah, that's how pretty much my day ends.
So, how much of it goes into the operational pieces, and how much of it is actual work with the end client?
So if I had to take a 1 hour session, Karthik, uh, I would say 2.5 hours go behind planning the session, working on the repertoire, and after coming back, documenting the same.
I think that is the exact use case we are also trying to solve for as well, right? So,
Hmm.
apart from building other capabilities that help grow the practice as well from our perspective. So that feels like good validation for us from a use case perspective as well. So, do you have like any favorite instruments that you prefer to use, or it changes based on the problem that you're trying to address?
So I play 5, 6 instruments currently, which I learned over the course of my 13 months diploma and then later on. So I am still working on my musical skills. However, harmonium being my primary instrument because I'm a classical vocalist. I'm a student of classical vocal.
Mm,
So harmonium is my most go-to if I'm doing rag chikitsa and the tanpura.
mm,
Apart from that, if you would ask me what's most popular amongst my groups and individual patients is my classical music, and I play an instrument called tongue drum, on which also I do rag chikitsa and use it for relaxation music or as a background music to a guided imagery session if I'm doing that. Yeah, I would say these two are my most go to. And I am learning to play the guitar, I play the ukulele, and a whole lot of other hand percussion instruments. I also, if I'm doing a guided imagery, I also use an ocean drum that I have. So yes, a plethora of instruments depending on the techniques I'm using.
So if a client comes to you, right? So do they get to pick these are the kind of songs or music that I prefer? These are the kind of instruments I prefer, or is it entirely dependent on you, right? So based on the problem that you are addressing, like a patient who is going to reactive procedures, right? So how does
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely, Karthik. So, music therapy practice is very, very client centric. So, that's exactly why when we do the initial assessment, we thoroughly understand the client's musical, cultural, and religious preferences. These are very important because if I'm not able to connect to the music, I will not benefit from it. That's one. Having said that, it's my job to figure out how I will utilize the client's preferences in a way that I'm able to deliver the technique perfectly well to foster the benefit that I'm trying to get. So, for example, let's say I know that a particular rag would have really helped this patient, but the patient just doesn't like classical music. Or I recently came across a patient, this auntie that I'm working with. She's 73 years old and she's struggling with some age related issues for which her daughter in law had approached me. She says that she does not like the harmony. And she had told me in the initial assessment itself that I don't enjoy classical. मैंने कभी नहीं सुना life में. But I know that this will benefit. But I will not enforce that on the client. I will get creative and figure out a way to utilize classical music. Then through the assessment, I figured out that Lata ji is her favorite singer. Guru Dutt Saab has been a favorite actor in her younger days. What I did then is found Bollywood music based on rags and picked up the ones that I wanted to use with the client and sang those with her. And I still delivered the technique in the way, in the scientific manner that I wanted to, and while taking care of the client's preferences and likes and dislikes. So that's how basically we approach this. Apart from that, like I said, when we are doing prenatal or any particular, or if I'm working with patients with depression or anxiety, what we do is we do not use absolute unique techniques or out of the preferred zone very early on in the treatment. After 7 8 sessions, once the client is comfortable, then we experiment a bit. Like what I do is, in if I have a 1 hour session, at least 45 minutes is musical experiences, and I use 2 or 3 techniques depending on the objectives. In that, what I will do is one particular technique in between of 15 minutes, I will experiment and see how the patient is responding. So we do not expose the patient to something that he or she may not like. At the same time, we don't sabotage the entire session also by doing something. And slowly and gradually use that. We see how the patient responds and then slowly and gradually build upon that.
Were there
So, yes, client is the boss when it comes to this.
anyway, right? I think customer is king. But were there instances where you had to create something from scratch, right? Maybe not use existing music. Maybe you felt like, okay, मुझे कुछ create नया करना है, right? So to solve a problem or experiment something, right? So how do you?
Yes, yes. So I'll tell you, I came across the instrument tangram that I told you about, and I fell in love with it. But I realized that it is more of a sound instrument. Sound healers or sound therapists ज़्यादा use करते हैं उसे. But I loved it and I wanted to use it in some way. And with the help of one of my music teachers, whom I'm very thankful to for this, I learned to play Rag Bhopali on the tongue drum. So I bought a tongue drum which is tuned in C sharp scale, which is similar to my voice scale. And I learned how to play Rag Bhopali on it. So it is still a sound instrument whose sound is very, very soothing and melodious and appealing, and stuck to my agenda of doing Rag Chikitsa through it. So I would say this was one experiment that has turned out to be very successful for me, and my clients love it.
And you did mention that you also collaborate with other modalities like physiotherapy. Have you also thought of or tried to learn any of the other modalities? This is a trend that I have seen in the wellness space where people are cross skilling as well, right? Because they don't want to deliver a monotonous session or class schedule. They want to create an experience for it. Right? So, and holistic well-being. So that is the approach that they are taking. Do you also have you explored other modalities or collaborating with?
Sure. So there are two parts to this question, Karthik. One, there is so much to do just in music therapy that I would say I am still figuring out new ways in these 3 years, 3.5 years of my practice. I'm still figuring out more ways of applying what I've learned and what I'm continuously learning also. So I'm continuously upskilling myself, taking short training programs and courses. Like I said, I learned to play more instruments. I'm learning music in different languages also, so I can cater to a larger audience of patients. That's one part of it. A second is while doing this, and like you rightly put, it always helps to integrate music therapy with other modalities to make my sessions or treatment plan more effective. So yes, I use a lot of pranayam. Like I've done, like I was saying, I have done a lot of work in cancer space, and I'm still doing. So especially for my lung cancer patients, I do a lot of pranayam and exercises to improve singing, which eventually helps them in their lung health. Apart from that, I took a short course in delivering journaling training. So I help patients do journaling while playing music in the background or music and movement, especially when I'm working with children. It really helps. Music and maths is one area which I did not take any formal course or training, but I learned through a lot of online videos that are available, and I learned how I could do. So I have a child who's suffering from dyslexia, to whom I am doing delivering music therapy to, and I learned how by doing music and maths, I will encourage him to fall in love with numbers as well. So music and maths, music and movement, music and art is my very very pet integration area, because I myself also paint. So I do, in the term of music therapy, we call it MDN, or music drawing and narrative technique, which is again very popular, which is only used once we know the patient or client very well. Techniques like MDN or songwriting are more easier to deliver and are more effective for the patient as well. So I use a lot of art, whether it could be doodling or actually sketching, or if I recently had a patient who loved to paint, so we would paint in the sessions along with me playing his preferred music. So yes, integration, yes. In terms of collaborating with other therapists, yes, I do sessions with yoga therapists, with meditation therapists as well, and a lot of collaborative work, whether they are workshops or individual sessions. Yes, that's also happening.
So how did uh, the workflow or scheme of things evolve or change over time, right? So when you had started off as a new music therapist trying to build the practice, right? So what were some of the challenges that you probably faced, and how did that evolve, or how did you solve them? Where is the practice at?
In terms of challenges, I would say the primary challenges were one, very minimal awareness. So 3 years back, not many people knew about music therapy. So awareness in general public, first challenge. Second, awareness that we as a fraternity exist amongst the medical fraternity. So they didn't know that we are available, as a supportive therapy. So I think awareness among the general public and medical fraternity is a primary challenge. Second, and what has changed over a period is we have many more certified and trained music therapists today than we had 3 years back. So now more people are talking about it, more people are working in the space, and hence, the domino effect is that more people know about our work. So I think that's one challenge which I wouldn't say we've overcome, but it's getting better कि ज़्यादा awareness है. Even like I conduct monthly awareness workshops for different groups. I've even conducted one for doctors and therapists. So different therapists came on to understand what music therapy is. So that's one. And general workshops for general public. So I conduct workshops for okay prenatal care or senior citizen care. So patients with dementia or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's, caregivers of those patients log on to those workshops. So there's more awareness. I have an entire batch of women with menopausal symptoms. So that also actually took birth from a single workshop that I did for awareness. And today we are a group of women that I'm working with. So one, through awareness, we are through programs like this, we are spreading more awareness. Have we overcome it entirely? Answer is no. I think Delhi abhi dur hai. We are working on that, all of us together. So that's one. Second is acceptance from other clinicians and therapists, which I would say has improved. And social media has played a role there in terms of awareness. There's so many people talking about various modalities that are being used. So yes, with more acceptance, this should grow and in a positive direction very soon.
From a practice perspective, right? So, what were some difficulties or things that you had to deal with? Because I'm sure, job in IT would be slightly more structured. It pays a lot, right? So, versus starting a practice in a modality like music therapy, right? So, how did the initial transition happen? Were there difficulties in, figuring out, like, were there questions where you said, okay, kya kar liya, right? So that is what happened to me when I want to build something on my own. Uh, so the first couple of months were okay. Is it the right decision? Do I still go about doing it? So how was that for you coming from IT to music? I would say well.
So yes, like you, it was exactly how you put it, Karthik. Initial months were difficult. Once I came back from my course, I didn't know where to start. Nobody knew what I do. So 70% of my time, energy, bandwidth would go in explaining people what I do
Mm,
and why do I do what I do.
mm,
Very simply put. So yeah, the initial struggle was nobody knew me.
mm,
Right. Nobody knew me in this. Nobody knew me outside the IT industry. Let's put it that way. So I had to really explain people what I'm doing, who am I, what I'm trying to do. Second, because I had done my internship in oncology space to work in other areas, I had to self learn a lot.
mm,
Where I took a lot of online courses on platforms, went through I don't know hundreds of YouTube videos of senior therapists across the world to understand how a technique like this can be executed or how a patient with this particular ailment or issue can be handled. So a lot of self learning happened, lot of riyas happened, fine tuning my skills happened, and the biggest challenge was reaching out to the right people.
mm,
So I started, I started going in, small gatherings and talking about my work.
mm,
Like a friend of mine who's a yoga therapist, I told her, तुम्हारे एक सेशन में मुझे आने दो, मुझे मेरे सेशन के बारे में बात करने दो. And she was kind enough to allow me to do that. And that's how one group started knowing about me. And then the word spread. So I left all my shyness. I took out all my other hats and got into a fresher's hat and went out there, talked about my work. It wasn't easy. The most difficult part was asking for money for the services that I provided because till now I was working for companies. At the end of the month, my salary would just come in. The only time we spoke about money was once in 3, 4 years when we were due for increment or
mm.
promotion, right? So, despite of being a banya, I was never good at asking for money. So, सबसे biggest challenge I think वही रहा है. अभी भी I'm not great at it. Third, what I did is I tried to connect with as many NGOs that I can because the whole idea of getting into this field, Karthik, was also to serve. And I particularly wanted to work with cancer patients. So I reached out to as many NGOs that I could over online platforms, send them emails, left messages on their, on the social media handles to spread awareness about my work and started working with them. And that did two things for me. One, obviously, more people knew about my work. And two, when you work with a diverse audience, as a therapist, your confidence will increase. More number of sessions you deliver, you will get better at it. So I think my focus was that I have to keep my X sharpened and be ready for whenever I'll be required. So I didn't. I That's what I did. I was relentless. I kept pushing, trying, exploited quite a few of my contacts wherever I can, and did more work. Did not worry about, okay, am I making enough money? Is this worth it? I have even got up at 5 a.m. and reached a hospital at 7 a.m. in Vashi and conducted a session from 9 to 10. So yeah, I've done a lot of work and worked on my confidence with every session that I deliver.
I'm guessing now it is slowly starting to reap benefits.
Yes, yes, it has definitely.
And how do you strike a balance between, purpose and keeping the lights on? Uh,
Good question.
I think a lot of us who have seen the corporate side of life or the career side of life, right? And then we felt, okay, now I want to do something that gives me fulfillment, that has a larger purpose in life. But then that is very essential to strike that balance to figure out how this becomes sustainable and also, from a material perspective, fulfills all your goals and dreams as well, right?
So, have I been able to strike this balance already? No. But I'm trying, I'm working on it. Like I give an example of me working, on pro bono basis with NGOs. So, uh, when I choose to work on pro bono basis with a whole set of audiences, I have to ensure that I get enough paying clients as well,
Mm,
so that I can keep a balance.
mm.
Uh, but वो हमेशा आसान नहीं होता है. It's on and off, doing well, then this month not so doing well. I think it's a journey. I am still figuring my way out, Karthik.
And what keeps you motivated on this journey, right? I think that is very important because I'm sure as you put your efforts and do good work, I believe that good work eventually comes back and it does good things, right? So what keeps you motivated?
So one, as at the onset, as I said, I wanted to earn something more than my salary.
Mm,
So this work is doing that for me.
mm,
I am earning a lot of blessings
mm,
from patients, from caregivers,
mm,
even patients that I have lost
mm.
in their journeys. Their caregivers even today text me saying, "You made my dad's last few months very meaningful." And I think this is what fuels my drive, even when I don't have enough zeros in my bank account. I think these blessings or these small messages here and there or small video clippings of pictures that my patients share makes me going. Having said that, you're right that we have to strike a balance and work towards even material satisfaction. That's a given at the end of the day. My work in the corporate space in the wellness section kind of takes care of that aspect as well. Only then I'm able to serve the other set of patients that I am able to.
And when you started, the practice, right? In the last 3.5 years, I think a lot of advancements have happened, especially on the technology side. Uh, there are new models of AI that are coming by the day, right? A lot of innovation happening on the marketing side and all the other channels as well, right? So I'm sure when you are running a business, especially a private practice, trying to build it sustainably, there is a lot of upskilling that is needed to be done, right? One, in your own modality, like the work that you do to figure out how to work with a certain client of yours. The other being, how do I leverage the existing technologies, leverage existing marketing models, etc. And the other being the business side of it, right? So, did you have this expectation when you started off, or how did you go with the flow, and how do you manage the upskilling part of it?
So I'll tell you, there are three parts to this, Karthik. I would say first one, because I was from the IT industry myself, I was very aware that technology can do wonders.
Mm,
So, and coincidentally, recently, I had written a research paper on use of technologies to make clinical music therapy effective. And it was published in a medical journal
mm.
in September only.
Oh,
So, yes. And I think that's something I did not just for myself but for my entire fraternity, that there are so many mobile apps or softwares that we as therapists can use. So one uh, apps or softwares that can help me in planning, conducting, and reviewing a music therapy session or plan. That's one category of technology that can be very useful. Like I was saying that if I'm delivering a Rag Chikitsa session when I'm going to sing, and it's a patient in the other side of town, so I'm obviously not going to carry my harmonium. But what I do is I have an app on my phone which runs the tanpura at my scale and in the tal that I want, and I'm able to just play that on my iPad or my phone, and I'm able to deliver an entire Rag Chikitsa session. So apps like this जो session के दौरान बहुत useful है. Other is helping me manage my work. So like I give you an example that how I have a folder with an individual Excel sheet for every client that I have ever worked with in the last 3 years or I'm currently working with, where every session is recorded, where my own review of the techniques used, what worked, what didn't work, has been recorded very meticulously. Apart from that, I manage using PPTs or a storage of my own audio files that I record to give to my patients for their assignments or whatever. So I'm utilizing all the knowledge that I had to manage my business currently. I do not have, like, back in my IT life, we had an ERP or a software or a CRM for every function. So वो नहीं है फिलहाल मेरे पास, that I do not have. And the third category is a platform to collaborate with other therapists. Currently, I'm using social media for that. Or if I'm looking for a venue for offline workshop, I do not know how to look for them. All these years, I never had a need.
Correct.
So now, if I had to look for a venue, I literally have to go through, listings of studios or places, and then okay, do they have the right kind of atmosphere, how are the autistics in the room, all that have to be taken care of. So if there was something that can connect me to available venues in a budget that I can afford, and with the kind of structure that works for my music, it would have been lovely. So I think that's one area where I'm still exploring how.
And when you talk about the fraternity, right? So, how many music therapists do you think are there in India and globally? And are there any regions in the world where it is slightly more mature as a modality?
Sure. So I would say that, see, music therapy was part of Indian culture back a few hundred years. However, it did not grow with, time. That's what happened to yoga also, right? So I always feel that music therapy is something that originated in India, went abroad, took a master's degree, got structured, got more research associated to it, got more technical traction, and then came back in a very beautiful and ready package for Indian therapists to use. So that's exactly what has happened to music therapy. We have more research today, more structured approaches, more techniques, and a lot of data about what will work when. So that has happened, because of which you will see very senior and mature therapists working in the Western world today.
Correct.
So, like for example, I came across a course where a music therapist has used EFT integration in a music therapy session. Now, ये मैंने यहाँ नहीं देखा था, but I saw a video, and I think this therapist was in Austria. Right? So yes, you are right that music therapy as a field is more matured, and we have more senior therapists in the Western world compared to what we have in India. Having said that, because of the growing number of certification and diploma courses that are now available here, we have a lot of. So I personally am connected with uh, at least 70 music therapists in India,
Okay.
which was one change in the last 3 years that I'm very happy about. We are a bigger and stronger fraternity today.
Because I've seen, not music therapists, especially, right? Across the wellness modalities, there are folks who transform from a corporate job into the fraternity, and there are people, who have not done probably a corporate job, anything, right? So they have been trying to build their own yoga practice or their own fitness practice over time. One difference I've seen is, the way that they approach the entire structure of managing the practice or setting up the practice is slightly different, right? Do you also feel the same where Do you feel that your corporate experience has helped you some way in the practice to structure it better, to be able to approach it uh, in a more professional way?
Immensely, Karthik, immensely.
Hmm.
I can tell you the day I landed back from finishing my course,
Hmm.
that night I created my first presentation
Hmm.
for a hospital
Hmm.
that I'm going to pitch my music therapy service
Hmm.
for their oncology and nephrology department. So vis-a-vis a therapist who would have only done music therapy and wanted to start a practice,
Hmm.
this wouldn't happen so soon in their career.
Hmm.
Second, I have been in corporate sales, consulting, and training
Hmm.
over the 20 years of my IT
Hmm.
career.
Hmm.
So if you put me in a group with 180, 200 people
Hmm.
in a community session,
Hmm.
I do not have stage fear.
Hmm.
I can manage crowds
Hmm.
very easily because of my past
Hmm.
experience. सिंपल है मेरा फंडा कि अगर मैं अच्छी हूं
Hmm.
जो मैं कर रही हूं उसमें
Hmm.
तो आई एम गुड.
Hmm.
So my attempt always is to prepare really well for my sessions
Hmm.
and then go up there and do a great session.
Hmm.
So my training in the corporate world has helped me immensely from that aspect.
Hmm.
Third, I'm very structured in my work today. Like I said, I have Excel sheet for every patient.
Hmm.
Even somebody who came to me in December 2022, if that patient comes back to me today,
Hmm.
I know exactly what had worked with him then, what were the challenges, and how I had conducted the 8, 10, 12 sessions that I conducted for that individual. So I have data available in structured format that I can retrieve anytime. Obviously, if it was a software, it would have been probably easier. But because I've worked in that space, I'm very structured. I am not shuffling through pages and diaries to find out what I did 2 years back. So yes, all my training and my expertise and my skills have come handy today. There is only one aspect I believe that I never learned in my life, which I'm learning now, is uh, to detach myself emotionally from clients.
Hmm.
I don't think I can ever detach myself. मेरी किसी भी academic या work training में मैंने नहीं सीखा,
Hmm.
and I don't think at this age and at this stage I can learn that part.
Hmm.
A lot of people tell me, oh yeah, you have to move on, or you don't have to get so emotionally attached. That's something not happening with me very well right now.
Hmm.
Or maybe with experience, I will, if not feel detached, at least learn to handle it better. So yeah, that's one skill I lack today, which I'm working on.
No, because I also believe there are pros and cons to the approach of being connected, right? The pros are, you will put all your effort, you'll do your
Hmm.
work, right? So it's not just a deal business. So
Yeah.
that is needed, especially in modalities like wellness, healthcare, education, which are key verticals in any person's life. The cons are the way you deal with when something happens.
Yep, that's true. Yes.
So, do you have any advice to folks who probably have not built a corporate career or have not done a lot of jobs that are structured, right?
Hmm.
Who are probably trainers, therapists, etc. right now? How can they probably build these skills in a quick way? How can they get organized slightly better? Because that is something that I have seen through a lot of conversations, right? Uh, I've spoken to yoga professionals, like you said, right? So the moment you came back, you said, okay, I'm going to make a presentation. I'm going to reach out to an organization and see how that works, right? So the yoga professionals I have spoken to who are sitting in Rishikesh or Delhi, right? They're like, हमें time hai because afternoon no one does yoga, but I
Hmm.
need more clients, right? While they're not exploring other things like conducting workshops, trying to work with corporates, doing retreats, the other stuff that they can do to keep themselves busy and build the practice and grow it. Right? What kind of solution do you have?
So one, definitely, if you do not have some basic computer skills, my advice is firstly to go out and learn that. Take up a course on Udemy, learn how to use Excel, learn how to use PPT,
Hmm.
or that will work very handy. I think Excel is a very, very underrated app. I've loved it in the past. I love it today. There is so much you can do with it. So learn some basic computer skills to keep your data handy. Also, if you can get access to any management softwares or apps that you can use, nothing like it, then that will make it easier for you. That's on the technical aspect of organizing and management. Third, always budget for the time for organizing and management, because even during my internship, as a student, I used to feel I had a great session.
Mm,
But after coming back to my desk, if I had to write down or type what happened in the session, a lot of a lot of time you would feel lazy to do it,
mm,
or you would feel, oh, I'll do it later, and it's very easy to postpone.
mm,
What happens is you forget a lot of critical details
mm,
if you push it to later.
mm,
So instead, to manage it better,
mm,
you budget for that time.
mm,
Never have back to back sessions in a way that you're hopping from one to the other, because with every session, whether you like it or not, your effectivity will go down after a certain number of sessions. And taking breaks in between will enable you to recharge yourself, like have a warm glass of water or a coffee or chai if you like. Also, make your notes so you don't forget critical details. Budget for that time.
mm,
This is on the management
mm,
side. And for people who are starting a India modality, I would say, if you have not done this already, go to the best institute or course you can afford to.
mm,
Do not compromise on this. Do not look for shortcuts and hacks,
mm,
because in the long run, they won't work for you. So do the best course, take the best training that you can afford. I'm not saying go to Austria and learn music therapy. Find the best institute in your country, in your city, in your state, and learn. Second, we are in a field where every day so much new is happening, which means you'll have to stay updated. You have to continuously keep upscaling, upgrading your skills,
mm,
and be continuously in a learner mode.
mm,
That will work best for you,
mm,
because in the long run, ability to innovate and integrate is what will see you through.
mm. No, that I think that is great advice. Also, want to touch upon the evolving nature of technology, etc. So there are so many AI models that with the advancement of technology, right? So where do you see, uh, is there an intersection of technology and music therapy with AI models maybe? So I'm sure you are using technology like you mentioned there. How do you see this getting disrupted in the coming year?
Sure. So, I would say that good AI models can complement our work
Mm,
in a great way. I'll give you a quick example. And this is an experiment that was done a few years ago, again in some institute in Europe, where a MIDI interface, like a musical instrument digital interface, was used, and an augmented instrument model was used with differently abled patient. So I think that's a great way to deliver a music therapy session by using interfaces like this or AI models like this. Now imagine an individual being able to strum on a guitar
mm,
or play a sitar
mm,
while having fine motor skill issues, right?
mm,
Like I had a patient who had numbness in the fingers as a neuropathy, which is a side effect of chemotherapy. And he had been a guitar player in his younger days. So during the session, I was carrying my guitar and I was like, would you like to, strum along? He tried, but his fingers didn't support him. That's when I realized that if there's an augmented instrument where he can play the guitar without actually using his fingers, but maybe strum with his hand, how amazing would that be? Unfortunately, I don't have access to something like that, but I did manage to find an app which I installed on my iPad when I went the next time, and gave him a feel of how the guitar would be played. So I think instrument augmentation and AI models that can identify or recognize movements for differently able people, or children who have developmental disabilities, with them, this can make wonders. So a lot of people tells, you know there's so much talk happening about AI and DeepSeek and all that, right? A lot of people say that, oh, we may not be required in a few years time. All I would say is, it's the same thing that people said when calculators were invented. Simple. I would say, continuously work on your skill, be great at what you do. It's no more time for being good at what you do. Be great at what you do. Do your riyas, do your practice. and go out there. And any technology that you have access to and you can afford, utilize it in a way to make yourself more effective. And there are umpteen options today. So, maybe later on you could leave a link to the research paper that I have done and a couple of other resources that we can share, where lots of apps can come very handy. And let it complement our work instead of worrying about will we be required in future. Live in the present, get more effective. That's all.
Absolutely agree with that. So I do not believe AI at this point of time is capable to replace someone in the wellness or healthcare side, right? Healthcare for surgeries probably replacement. I don't know. Well-being side, I don't think so, because the way I look at it is, the physical health we have understood enough, right? So we know, okay, these many organs are there, these are the functions, and this is how we need to be functioning, right? But the mind, the brain, right? So we have not understood enough, right? So there's so much research to be done. And I don't think an AI without life experiences will be able to replace that, right? Like you rightly said, it can only augment and help people who have this skill to be able to deliver that work better to the people that need it, right? And that is the thesis that we are also.
Absolutely. In the entire mental health space, also, Karthik, since you mentioned it, there's so much work happening, in not just psychological issues, but even in neurological disorders. Like I give an example uh, of an gentleman with dementia. He had an early onset, and by the age of 70, he had completely lost his memory. He wouldn't even recognize his son.
Mm,
Okay. But when we started the sessions with him, and obviously I was approached by his son to do these sessions, and in the assessment, I had made a list of his favorite songs, all of it that he would listen to in his earlier years. And the moment I started singing this one Kishorda songs that uncle used to like, imagine he does not recognize his own children today.
mm.
But I sang one line of that song, and that uncle completed the entire song. For the next 10 minutes, we were all sitting and he finished the entire song. That's the power of music. And we know today how it works in different parts of our brain, how it impacts memory, how it can evoke memories and trigger emotions. Right? So, using that entire knowledge uh, with the data about the patient's current condition, using that combination is today possible because I'm able to, connect the dots. uh, Maybe in future there will be AI models who could do that, but currently I would say the human element is key to any such therapeutic sessions. And the whole space, like I always say that my objective is not to always just deliver a technically great session, but a session also in which I'm able to get engagement from the client and being able to connect. It's not just sitting there doing what you have to do and walking out. Every session, if you're able to connect better, that's the only way to get better outcomes of the whole treatment plan as well. And I think that's where the human element definitely plays a role.
Have there been instances where you're doing a session and then it turned into like a jam session where the client is also like loving it and you're just like enjoying the time, right?
Yes, yes. So this was at a senior citizen home some time ago, when it was a community therapy session where there was a whole group of senior citizens with whom I worked, and obviously I had gone with a certain set of techniques that I wanted to do. With audience like this, I don't go with my laptop or my PPT. I just carry my instruments, a whole lot of hand percussion instruments that I can manage to carry, and then start the session. But I had a plan in my mind. After the first 15-20 minutes, everybody got comfortable, they started enjoying. And I usually keep the preferred music segment
Yeah.
towards the end. So now we know generally you're in Maharashtra, most people understand Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati. So preferred music segment is usually either bhajans or Bollywood songs. So I started with, we said, okay, now we'll do preferred music, but everybody has to play their hand percussion instrument. Because the whole idea was to make them physically also engaged. Very few were able to actually stand up and do stuff, but while sitting also they were able to use the doofle or the khanjri and play along. First two songs I sang and they were singing along and then playing. Before I could start the third song, one of the aunts pointed at one of the other gentlemen and said, "अरे आप वो गाना बहुत अच्छा गाते हो ना आपने दिवाली पार्टी में." And then it went. And then I was no more conducting the session, no more controlling what's happening. And it turned out to be a jam session of Lataji and Kishoda songs and Manna Day and Gurudat Saab and whatnot. And the session that was supposed to be 1 hour, 15 minutes. I think at the end of 2 hours, the matron had to come and say, "Arey, abhi inke khane ka waqt ho gaya hai." And then we stopped the session. So yes, it does happen. It does happen that way.
And how does your lead funnel or a marketing funnel look like? So I'm sure you get a lot of connects or clients through the NGOs, through the healthcare system, right? Are there any other channels that you're trying to build or you have explored social media ads or building any sort of digital or offline?
So yes, I am on social media platforms, but I would not say that I've been able to generate a lot of leads through those platforms.
Mm,
But awareness, yes, definitely. I have been able to use the platform to spread awareness about my programs, about my work,
mm,
or about music therapy in general.
mm,
A lot. It has been very instrumental in that. But in creating a sales funnel or a leads funnel, like I was explaining, I do not have a very steady leads funnel. Yes, yes. And like I said, I may get a referral from somebody this week, and then it takes a while to kind of start. We do assessment, then I work on the program, then it starts,
mm,
and then suddenly something happens, and then they drop out.
mm,
So yeah, that happens. There is no currently I do not have any structured way in which I can manage my leads.
mm,
I would love that I reach a stage where I need something to manage the leads and I have access to an app or a software which I can use to do so.
And so, in the current state, the wellness industry in a country like India, we do not have a lot of regulations, compliance, ethics, whereas slightly more mature markets have all those
Yeah.
compliances in place. So, where do you see this going in the next maybe 3 to 5 years? Right? A regulation perspective, what needs to be done? So,
Hmm. Hmm.
your understanding of how the behavior is changing. Uh, what is the kind of trajectory the industry is going to take?
Sure. So I think this will be a multi-stage thing, Karthik, as I'm seeing it from
Mm,
current point. One, we definitely need a stronger certification body somewhere. Like if you may have read board certified music
yeah.
therapist. Currently in India, we do not have any government certification per se, like a board certification. Like I may have training from somewhere, and if I'm starting my therapy practice, I do not have any board certification per se that I need to take.
Mm,
Uh, so if we have a structured regulatory body that governs this,
mm,
we would be able to maintain the quality of therapists that we get in the market. That's one part of it.
mm,
Second part of it, like I said, if we have more support and advocacy from the medical fraternity, we will be able to do some amazing work in the clinical space
mm,
because other countries are doing it.
mm,
Why can't we?
mm,
Right? Why can't we give access to all of these amazing alternative and supportive therapies
mm,
to our people here?
mm,
So I would say that would give a great push and traction to
mm.
this.
That makes sense. That is something that we have also been trying to figure out. What is there, what has to be in place. I think, yeah, before we close out, right, I'd like to request you if you have like a quick 1 minute or some sort of exercise that can help with, stress management. Uh, when you are feeling overwhelmed with a lot of things. So, is there something that we can try out probably on this call?
Okay. Hmm. Okay, over this platform, what I can quickly demonstrate, or maybe you can do with me is that let's like the example that you said that you are overwhelmed, or maybe somebody before stepping into a very important meeting, or if it's a meet the parents for some young man or woman, what you could do is if you know a song or a melody that always soothes you, or something is that is your go-to. You can hum that melody. So if you're in the car, or maybe in the elevator also, before you go, uh, humming humming a soothing melody is great, because it works on grounding your entire system. Humming is also a way of breath work, so it works on your body, and it calms you down. It actually lowers your pulses, and it tells your brain that you're in a safe zone. So if you are anxious or overwhelmed and was about to get into the flight or fright mode, it'll kind of bring you back. And second, because it's a song that you connect with, in a very delicate way, it will give you an element of confidence, even joy. Depends on your own perception of the music that you're using. So uh, so if tell me your favorite song, and then we can hum along.
It's an old Telugu song.
Okay, फिर उसकी धुन मुझे नहीं पता होगी, but we'll try.
No, if you have something, then we can try that. So that
Okay,
that
okay.
is a very old song. I really love it.
Would you like to hum for us then? In that case, you'll only hum for us. Okay, I'll give an example, and then you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about. So, for example, if
I'm not very good at it, so I wouldn't want to spoil it for.
no, no, that's okay. See, I'll tell you, I'm glad you mentioned this, Karthik. To take benefit of music therapy, it's a misconception. We do not need to have any musical skills to benefit from music therapy. This is one of the biggest misconception that I would like to clear. That you don't have to be a singer to enjoy singing. अगर आप bathroom singer भी हो, you, as far as you're enjoying it, do it, or just humming along, right? So yeah, coming back to our exercise, let's say if I take one of my favorite songs, Dil Hai Chota Sa or Kanne Kalemane in Tamil, right?
Yeah.
So उसकी अगर melody मुझे पता है, तो I would like just hum it. If I'm in a space where I'm not driving or I'm not around public, I can actually sit down at a comfortable place, close my eyes, my right hand on my chest, which kind of helps me. How जब कोई बच्चा रोता है तो हम क्या करते हैं? Immediate reaction is this, right? Because this actually helps you soothe down. So just put your right hand on your chest and take a few deep breaths and open your eyes. And so it's a great way to self-soothe.
So do like this song. So Surumaya Kyum, right?
Oh wow, is it? It's one of my favorite numbers. My daughter used to love it when I used to sing for her.
Yeshudas is
Yeah.
also
So,
like
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yes.
divine one.
So yes, there are techniques like this that you can use. So humming, and like I mentioned, if you are in a zone of known stress, जो हमारी life में rampant है अभी, like traffic, or that before stepping into the office, or at the end of the day when you're returning. So it used to often happen with me. I returned from work, which was a long drive, considering Mumbai. And before I get down my car, you know what I used to do? In my parking, after switching off my car, I would sit in the car for a few minutes, because I always thought that with the whole day of stressful work and the crazy traffic that I have managed, in this zone, I don't want to meet my toddler. I want to ground myself before my child meets me. I would just sit in the car. अगर रेडियो पे कोई फेवरेट गाना चल रहा है तो ग्रेट, अदरवाइज जस्ट प्ले इट ऑन माय फोन, listen to it, sing along or hum along for 5 minutes, then step out of my car, take the elevator and go. Often my building watchman would wonder that what she does every time, every day after coming, why doesn't she get out of her car? But that's what I used to do. And a small hack, right? And back then I didn't even know about music therapy or anything. But yeah, I was somebody who was always very connected with music, and that's how I figured out that it can heal.
Thanks a lot. Just before we close out, quick. So, what is it uh, that is in store for Aaroha Music Therapy in the year 2025? What are your goals? What do you plan on? And how can people reach out to you? They connect with you, learn, work with you.
Sure, sure. So there is lots on the table for Aaroha this year. I am working on curating programs for lots of diverse communities. Like I said, I have started working with the youth for academic anxiety, stress management.
Mm,
Similarly, I am curating a program for senior citizens, how we can prevent challenges like dementia.
mm,
And also manage if one is already diagnosed or going through the initial phases.
mm,
There's lots of work that can be done with senior citizen care, uh, a whole lot of work in the women health care. My objective is to reach out to as many people as I can and do as many workshops and sessions
mm.
that I can. And not only bring about awareness, but actually make a difference, one musical note at a time.
And how can people reach out to you if they would like?
Uh, Y'all can check out my website, which is www.aarohamusictherapy.com. I'm also on social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Uh, and my handle is the same, aarohamusictherapy.com and Aaroha Music Therapy. You can also WhatsApp me from my website on the contact page. Reach out to me for individual or group sessions or any collaborations that you're looking at, or you generally want more information about music therapy and my work.
Thanks a lot, Binal. I know we have gone a
Thank you
little
so
over time.
much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.